Hi, this is Frank Taylor with Nature at Your Door. This is a On the Road with Nature at Your Door episode, and I'm here in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia, in Pendelton County at a place called Nelson Rocks. And today I'm going to be climbing Nelson Rocks with NRocks organization on a Via Ferrata. I'm going to talk during this trip about the Appalachian Mountains, how they're shaped, and we're going to get an up-close and personal look at the Tuscarora Sandstones, which I'll be climbing. We'll talk about how the amazing geology here shapes the ecology. So stay tuned. Right here in your backyard, you never know what you're going to find. The Monongahela National Forest is situated in east central West Virginia at an elevation between 1,000 and 4,861 feet. The forest has over 100 tree species and a myriad of habitats and microhabitats for a really diverse assemblage of species. There's actually over 70 species of resident birds, 89 breeding neotropical migrants, and 71 species of non-breeding birds that live here. Nelson Rocks themselves are known as the Fins or Razorback Ridges. These are the same structures that include Seneca Rocks, Champe Rocks, and Judy Rocks. And here at Nelson Rocks, we're located only 5 miles from Spruce Knob, which is the highest point in the West Virginia mountains and all of West Virginia. The Via Ferrata I'll be climbing today as I go up these rocks was first built in 2002 and is modeled after the Via Ferratas that you can find extensively across the Swiss and Italian Alps. The word Via Ferrata comes from the Italian meaning iron way. These Via Ferratas were originally made to move troops quickly across the Italian and Swiss Alps. Today, throughout these alpine countries, they're extensively used for sport and recreation. During World War II, the Army created a special mountain division to be trained to fight and pursue the enemy in the Pennine Alps late in World War II. And one of the places the 10th Mountain Division trained was here on Nelson Rocks and in nearby Seneca Rocks during 1942 to about 1944. There's still an estimated over 70,000 soft iron pitons buried in the rock here from their training activities. The t-shirt I'm wearing today comes from the 2017 Army-Navy game, where West Point Military Academy chose to honor the 10th Mountain Division by designing their uniforms to represent them. These rocks or ridges are made up of rock layers that have been uplifted and rotated 90 degrees. They're made of very resistant sandstones, known as the Tuscarora Formation, or the Tuscarora Quartzite, or Tuscarora Sandstones. These rocks contain fine grains of sand which are believed to have been laid down during the Silurian period some 440 million years ago. The white sands that made up these rocks originally were extensive sand shoals at the edge of an ancient ocean. Eons of geological activity followed. The ocean slowly closed up, and underlying rock was uplifted and folded and subject to, again, periods of deposition and burial, and these rock layers were subsequently metamorphosized. As time passed, newer rock layers were uplifted and exposed, and then again eroded away. As time passed, newer rock layers were uplifted and exposed and eroded away, and about 200 million years ago, at the end of the Paleozoic era, these rocks were bulged upward and formed as part of this anticline. Millions of years of erosion slowly stripped away the more erodible rocks, leaving these very resistant rocks exposed and making up many of the peaks in both West Virginia and Virginia. These resistant layers of Tuscarora sandstone are ideal for climbing activities like I'm doing here today. Here I have my hands on rock layers whose formation began some 440 million years ago. The rocks from the shallow sea shape these mountains today, and it's these mountains with their changing elevation, their north and south slopes, and the rivers that run through them that gives way to the soils that produce the amazing habitats and microhabitats and geological diversity that leads to the diversity of soils and the diversity of organisms throughout the Appalachian Mountains. For me, of course, it's awesome to get up close and personal and experience these rocks and climb their peaks in such a dynamic way. So in order to understand the ecological communities, you have to begin with the geology. And it's the geology that will determine the elevation and climate effects as well as the soil types. The elevation and the climate and the soil in turn dictate what plants and animals you'll find. The Appalachian Mountains are unique in the immense biodiversity that they hold. The orientation of the mountains and the diversity of habitats and microhabitats. The Appalachian Mountains hold hundreds of species of trees, thousands of species of wildflowers and fungi, and the greatest diversity of mussel species anywhere in the world. We also hold some of the greatest diversity of salamanders in the world, along with a myriad of migratory and resident birds and other wildlife. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Nature at Your Door, close and personal with the rocks that made the Appalachian Mountains, especially these resistant sandstones that have held up the highest peaks. In fact, the highest peak in West Virginia, 4,863 feet, is only 5 miles from where I'm standing right now, Spruce Knob. If you like what I do on this channel, please subscribe, give me a like, and leave me a comment. I love hearing from my viewers. And remember, I cover all things nature, from frogs, toads, snakes and turtles, the myriapoda, insects, trees, wildflowers, and fungi. I cover all the things you might encounter just outside your door. So thanks again for watching this episode of Nature at Your Door.